He's not only the best shooting guard in the whole league, he has not only shown an incredible ability to carry his team throughout his career, but this season he's the best player on the team with the best record in the East, and the team that had the best record in the NBA for most of the season. Donovan Mitchell is one of the most underrated superstars in world basketball. He's one of the few true playoff risers in the league.
Crosses, big finish, the crank.
One of those players who's capable of giving his best in the moments of truth.
For the lead! Point three!
And yet, at no point in his career did he receive the recognition he deserved.
Mitchell! Right down the teeth of the defense!
But things have changed. It is impossible not to notice what he's doing with the Cleveland Cavaliers this season. Although it is even more incredible to see how this could have been a matter of destiny. Donovan didn't even want to play pro basketball. As a child, he dreamed of dominating the MLB fields.
Exactly. So you played baseball for most of your childhood before fully committing yourself to basketball in high school.
Yeah, I think for me, baseball was my whole life. Baseball was like, that's what I'm doing. And then one year, it just switched. And so I think for me, just being able to be like, you know what, this is what I want to do, have fun with it. And then I went from 4 college offers to 26 after I made that decision. So I think I made the right decision.
However, it was fate that led him to this situation, because a series of decisions and events changed his future forever, leading him to the elite of the elite in basketball.
Oh, and a brilliant move as Donovan Mitchell!
So make yourself comfortable, because today we're going to talk about how an unlikely NBA player became one of the best superstars of his generation. It was September 7th, 1996, a day that many hip-hop fans have marked on the calendar for the tragic murder of Tupac Shakur. But it was also the day the Mitchell family welcomed their first child, Donovan. It was only a few months since Michael Jordan had won his 4th championship ring, and the NBA was about to go through a period of transition following the gradual retirements of the superstars of the Golden Age. However, none of that would matter to that New York kid who only had eyes for one sport. Because ever since he was a little toddler, Donovan Mitchell felt an enormous love for baseball. The reason was none other than his father's job. Donovan Mitchell Sr. was a former minor league player who had a job as director of player relations for the New York Mets. And that allowed his son not only to follow the sport closely, but to see it from a privileged position to which very few players have access.
Actually, that was one of those things where we kept him in the backyard, so he wouldn't stay in his room and play video games all day. And we had a basketball court back there, and he took a liking to it. His friends were playing it, and he started to realize that he was pretty good at it. But he started out as a baseball player.
Donovan was used to hanging around the locker rooms, getting to know the players, and he absolutely loved that. Mitchell was also a boy with an enormous hunger for curiosity. He was relentless. He couldn't stop moving from one place to another, even if he had nowhere to go. So much so that his mother had to put him in a harness every time they left the house. I swear to you that my mother used to put me on one of those kiddie leashes whenever we'd go anywhere. Of course, as is common in the case of boys with excess energy, sport was the perfect solution for him to invest in. Mitchell was 7 years old when he began to idolize baseball players like pitcher Scott Carmier and third baseman David Wright. And at the same time, he began to practice his sport with increasing assiduity. In fact, by the time he reached high school, he was a player who could have a future in professional baseball. But Donovan also began to take his first steps in basketball, another sport at which he was exceptionally good. He didn't have the size, but his absolute exorbitant wingspan allowed him to become much bigger on the hardwood. And that also gave rise to the alias that accompanied Mitchell throughout his career, because his long arms and his enormous agility led to him being nicknamed Spider. At Canterbury High School, he played both sports. As a freshman and as a sophomore, Mitchell was a versatile talent who seemed to be good at everything. But there were always priorities. Baseball was still at the top of the list, and that was the case until, in his sophomore year, he suffered a serious injury after a collision with a catcher, in which he broke his jaw and wrist, an incident that made him rethink his options for the future. Some people would consider it bad luck. Other people would consider it fate. Why? Well, because Donovan decided to put baseball aside and focus on basketball. He himself said that he didn't take it seriously enough. He said he didn't know how to shoot, but that soon changed. Although he saw basketball as a hobby and under no circumstances as a professional outlet for the future, Mitchell loved to practice. He didn't mind being alone. In his head, he imagined he was the star in an imaginary game. He imagined his opponents, the crowd, even the trash talk. And those daydreaming sessions got him hooked. Sport had always been his obsession, but basketball in particular surpassed anything he had felt for baseball. At the age of 13, Donovan was attending the Boys and Girls Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, a place that went down in history as the place where LeBron James announced his decision to join the Miami Heat. Who would have told Mitchell that just over a decade later, he would be in charge of reviving the franchise that the King had left? Some people would consider it good luck. Others would consider it fate. In his last 2 years of high school, Donovan started to attract a little more attention. Part of the reason was the fact that his mother transferred him to Brewster Academy in New Hampshire, where Mitchell began to play like a high school star. He helped Brewster win 2 prep school national championships, and Division I scouts began to consider the possibility of including him on their roster. News that his mother was thrilled about. You see, she was a firm believer in the education system. Nicole always insisted that Donovan pursue higher education because a university degree is a lifeline for life, something that stays with you forever. And she wasn't convinced by the option of professional sport. Although Mitchell was still far from being considered a future NBA player, he was starting to show promise. ESPN ranked him with 4 stars, with a grade of 86 and as the 43rd best player in the top 100. Nobody would have said that he was a future NBA star, but with such a profile, he had numerous offers from various Division I programs. Finally, and after careful consideration, Mitchell decided on the offer from Louisville. It was there that the family's luck changed forever. Nobody expected Donovan to have such a big impact. Although in his first year at Louisville, he played a minor role, averaging just 7.5 points in 19 minutes per game, coming off the bench. He had made an incredible leap in quality in the summer before his sophomore year, because in that second year, Spida averaged 15.6 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and an ACC high 2.1 steals per game, becoming the leader of the Cardinals. A leap that made his name start to be heard as one of the candidates to be drafted in a lottery position in the 2017 draft. Although his mother wanted him to complete his university degree, Chris Paul and Paul George convinced him to take the plunge, because the NBA train, on many occasions, only passes once. The gamble paid off when the Denver Nuggets drafted him in the 13th position of the draft.
Donovan Mitchell from the University of Louisville.
So the Nuggets had Donovan Mitchell to that already crowded backcourt. Now we saw him at the draft combine show off his athleticism.
Just before trading him to the Utah Jazz in exchange for Tyler Lydon and Trey Lyles. And in Salt Lake City, he found his home. From his first summer league in 2017, he began to make a difference.
Shoots the ball from the three-point line. He can rack it. He's got a toughness about him, and you know he's competitive. He survived 2 years with Rick Pitino.
But the NBA is an extremely tough league. After an inefficient start, it took Donovan 8 games to earn his place as a starter in Quinn Snyder's schemes.
I love Coach. I think this is well deserved. You look at, obviously we score, we do all these different things, but he writes the stuff down. He's the one that emphasizes it. Yeah, we go out and play, but we're a really well coached team. I think that's something that really stands out.
He's really competitive, but he's also really determined.
And his rookie season, in which he averaged 20.5 points per night, was so incredible that he was one of 2 finalists for the Rookie of the Year award with Ben Simmons. One of the most incredible and fiercely contested rookie races in the modern NBA.
You broke the rookie record for three-pointers in a season. Have you made your finishing case for Rookie of the Year?
Man, the biggest thing that we did as a team is we just moved the ball and allowed me to get, some of those threes. But we got one more game to hopefully solidify the 3rd seed. That's all that's on my mind right now. Like I said, I'm thankful to be able to be up in that category with all the great players in there. But, like I said, we got the defensive player and the coach of the year on my team, so I'm happy with that.
For me, it's Donovan Mitchell. And I'm not trying to imply that I would want Donovan Mitchell over Ben Simmons in terms of building a franchise, because I think Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being the second coming of LeBron. This brother is on that level. But in terms of a rookie campaign, their first year in the NBA playing basketball, that is, Donovan Mitchell, as far as I'm concerned, is sensational. He's my rookie of the year right now.
Although in the end, it was the Sixers point forward who took the award.
Ben Simmons.
The outlook on Mitchell's rookie campaign soon changed. Why? It's very simple. Not only was he able to lead a Jazz team that had lost its star in free agency when Gordon Hayward headed to Boston, but he was also able to lead them to the conference semifinals after defeating the Thunder in the first round.
And then take it and lay it up with the left. There it is. Scoop off glass. He's perfect tonight in the third.
And that's not all. Oklahoma City's roster was packed with elite veteran talent, such as Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony. And yet, they succumbed to the enormous force of a rookie willing to take on the world. Because with averages of 28.5 points per night, Donovan Mitchell was undoubtedly the best player in the series. Proof of this is the 38 points he scored in the deciding Game 6. By the time his sophomore year in the NBA came around, he was already a star. Not because he was putting up big numbers. That was something that many young players are capable of doing. But because he had become the leader of a perennial playoff team at such a young age. Utah made the playoffs in 6 consecutive seasons thanks to the duo he formed with defensive star Rudy Gobert.
Utah takes the lead.
In 3 of these postseasons, the Jazz even managed to advance to the conference semifinals. But the enormous difficulty of the West prevented them from going any further. In the year of the bubble, Mitchell averaged 36.3 points per game in 7 games against the Nuggets, dropping 2 50 bombs and another 44-point masterpiece. But despite that, Utah was unable to win the series. In addition, rumors of friction in the locker room with Rudy Gobert set off alarm bells. The team chemistry had disappeared. Finally, with the change of management of the team with the arrival of Danny Ainge in 2021, and after another Utah defeat in the playoffs, the Jazz decided to start a new rebuilding process. And Donovan Mitchell, after many rumors that said he wanted to play in a big market, ended up being traded to Cleveland in exchange for an asset package that included Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and several first-round draft picks. Many experts said that Donovan didn't want to play in Cleveland. They said that as soon as he had the chance, he would leave the franchise in free agency. He still remembered his afternoons at the Rucker as a teenager, and he loved the essence of New York. And curiously, the Knicks were looking for a star to lead their new project.
Mitchell has a chance for the 4-point play. There's a flicker of that flame, spot a bite.
However, as the leader of the Cavs, he has completely proven the opposite. His commitment to Cleveland has been demonstrated in many ways, as well as having led them with great performances last season against Orlando and Boston in the playoffs.
And a foul. Tie game and a free throw coming up.
He did so by signing a contract extension that ties him to the franchise until 2027. When he signed this contract, many people thought he was making a mistake. Everyone thought the team didn't have much more potential. Garland wasn't at his best. Mobley hadn't finished exploding as a star yet. And the Cavs seemed to be stuck in a purgatory that they wouldn't be able to get out of. Good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to be a real threat.
Trying to figure things out. It definitely helped that we started out 15-0, but we're playing good basketball, playing the right way. We're all sacrificing for the next man, defensively, offensively, and that's what you're seeing. Good basketball, and we just got to continue to keep playing the right way. Keep leading the wins.
Well, the reality has been completely different. Cleveland is the best team in the East this season, or at least until today. The Cavs are having one of the best seasons in the history of the league record-wise, which has allowed them to comfortably sit in first place in the Eastern Conference. A team that has a great balance with a powerful starting 5, along a deep bench that includes players like DeAndre Hunter, Isaac Okoro, or Ty Jerome. Their undersized backcourt with Garland and Spida is compensated for by a huge defensive front court with differential players like Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. And today, everyone is waiting to see what they are capable of in the playoffs. Many experts consider that they do not have enough experience at important moments. In the end, they are a very young team, but these experts seem to forget that their star does have experience.
Garland showed up a little bit, but Donovan Mitchell was the story. I mean, the brother was absolutely spectacular.
Although Donovan is only 28, he has played in the playoffs in each and every one of his seasons in the NBA. He knows full well how defenses adjust when May arrives. And now that he has the supporting cast by his side, he's ready to take the final step. Without him, the Cavs are a dangerous team. But with him, they're one of the most dominant contenders in the entire league.
Inside, puts up the floater, draws the foul, and Donovan Mitchell has a chance for the three-point play.
However, the most incredible thing about this Cavalier team is that they are incredibly young. Spida is 28, Garland 25, Jarrett 26, Mobley 23. This team's winning window could be incredibly long if Michael Ganzi and his management make the right decisions. So an early defeat in these playoffs would be far from enough to set alarm bells ringing. But at some point, and the sooner the better, Cleveland will have to exceed expectations, because the Celtics' shadow in the East is enormous. The defending champions are the clear favorites for the bookies to reach the NBA Finals, even if their regular season has not been so brilliant. Now, who better to exceed these expectations than a player who has done so throughout his career? Donovan Mitchell. He shouldn't even be here. He shouldn't even be who he is. In some ways, it was pure luck. In other ways, you could call it fate. He was a boy who loved baseball. He never even considered a future in professional basketball. Nor was he ranked as a future NBA player. He didn't even have the size to succeed in the big guard and point forward landscape the league has become today. Yet, with his determination, he has achieved much more than people expected of him. His rise to the top is a clear demonstration of what a work ethic can achieve. And if, as people say, the MVP is a prize awarded to the best player on the best team, Donovan Mitchell would have been that player for most of the season, which should at least put him in the discussion. His numbers are nowhere near what the Joker or SGA are capable of putting up night in, night out. But his leadership has proven to be even more decisive than the superhuman performances of these two generational players. Although his legacy may never be respected as it should be, if the Cavs make history winning a championship under his helm, all that could change overnight.